came in, their privilege and honor to have CM, Padma Bhushan CM, as we many of us call him, with us this evening. We had our first chapter, first session amid ever extending lockdown. Now, as we are set to allow the second chapter, it's like we are on the cusp of lockdown and unlock. Despondency level is still there, fear factor is still there, negativity is yet to go, which is also somewhat related to this. My question is, do you think that negativity at times came from fear factor, dilemma? For instance, even Arjuna in Mahabharata, his dilemma came from the kind of fear factor, the fear of losing. When he could finally submit everything to Lord Krishna, then that was gone, fear factor and negativity. So do you think that complete submission also takes away the negativity from one?
Okay. Can you hear me clear?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
Yeah. Right, right. Um, you see, that kind of submission that you talked about, where Arjuna submitted himself completely to Krishna, happens only when situation is so desperate and we know we can do nothing about it. As long as we have an option to do something, that doesn't happen. So it is also too much to expect uh, people to have that kind of surrender, because it happens only when we see works, then only people do that. Till then, they try very hard to do, to succeed, to try and remedy things, which is all fine, which is in order. But some point they come to that desperate understanding, nothing is working. Whatever we do, it's not going to work. And then they say, okay, those who believe in God say, oh, I'm surrendering to God. Those who do not believe in the concept of God, they say, okay, let me surrender to whatever is going to happen. Both are almost the same. When this surrender happens, then what happens? The mind is no longer tense. The mind has given up. The mind is no longer in tension because it knows I have said, whatever happens, let it happen. Jo ho, so ho. So that state can happen only when there is no other way. And I think in some way we are in that condition now. There is no cure for COVID as of now. There is no vaccination for COVID as of now. All we can do is practice social distancing as much as we can and keep ourselves from the infection. That's all that we can do. So, knowing quite well that that is all that we can do, what is the need to get agitated about? Why don't we keep quiet and say, okay, whatever happens? I'll tell you, I'll give you a reason for this. It's not just a mental attitude. You see, we human beings are made up of cells, right? cells, cells. There are all kinds of cells in the human body. I think 50 trillion cells probably are there in the human body. And these cells include the cells of our skin, to the muscles, to all interior organs, and also the bacteria and microbes and everything that is inside our digestive system and so on. They are all cells, made up of cells. Some are our own, some have come from outside, but they are all cells. And these cells keep multiplying at an enormous rate. If you put four of these, any normal, ordinary cells, even from your skin, into a dish in a lab, if you watch, in 4 hours there will be 30,000 cells. That's how they multiply. In the same way, after their span of life is over, they die. When they die, new things come up, new cells come up. This happens every day. Trillions of cells in our body, starting from the skin down, are dying. We don't believe it because we see it there and we think, oh, it's always the same. It is not the same. It's dying and new cells are coming, right? Now, the source from which cells are made is the bone marrow. From the bone marrow, the cells then develop and come into the blood. And then from there, it is divided into the different kinds of cells: tissue, brain, muscle, skin, and then splits. Okay. Also, the new cells have to come up, old cells are dying automatic. Nobody can stop that. If you stop that, there will be no place for new cells to come. Okay. Facts. I'm just stating facts, not any moral thing. Ah, now, who is the engineer or the laboratory, the scientist who cultivates these cells, makes them increase, watches them die, replaces them? Where is the control point? The control point is the brain. At the moment, we know only that much. Okay, the control point is the brain. So what happens in the brain? In the brain, there are uh, ductless glands like the pituitary, like the pineal, and so on, and also the pathways through which serotonin, dopamine, goodness factor, all these things circulate. So when you're in fear, then the brain refuses to produce uh, feel good factor hormones. You know, it is a well known saying that when two people are in love, they look more beautiful. Why? It's not just your imagination, it's because the brain, the ductless glands of the brain, they pump in serotonin, um, dopamine, and there is another one. Uh, I don't seem to remember the name. That's what mothers have when they have children. Oxytocin. Uh, Even cows have oxytocin. Oxytocin, which makes them stick together, have friendship, love each other, protect each other. It's a chemical process. Now, this happens not when there is fear, it happens when there is uh, when the brain feels secure. Hmm. So, I'm saying that if you continue to cultivate fear, the feel good factors will not be induced to come and get into the bloodstream by the brain. Now, it is very essential that these come into the cells so that the cells become more resilient, more healthy physically also, and their reproduction rate increases. So, they are able to tackle and protect the body from negative viruses also. Why do some these viruses attack people? Some die, some don't die, because some people have a lot of uh, resilience, and this resilience comes because the cells are healthy. And why are the cells healthy? Because there is no fear; there is only happiness. So, if you cultivate happiness, even artificially. You know, people say, if you're always looking very glum, if you draw a picture and if you draw the mouth this way, then it is smiling. You reverse it and put it this way, then it is sad. Same line, same line. So, what I'm trying to say is, if you go before a mirror every day and smile, why do you smile? Why are you happy? Because when you're happy, the brain has sent certain hormones into your system, which is making you happy. So, the brain, there is also an automatic biofeedback mechanism there, which is if therefore your muscles of your face are smiling, if you artificially make your muscles smile, then the signal that goes to the brain is, this fellow is happy. So there is some more happiness hormone coming in. So it's the other way around also. If you actually more than exercise, if you want to become fatter or thinner, Every day go before the mirror, shut the door, of course, securely, take off all your clothes, stand before the full length mirror, and imagine exactly how you want to be. More than exercise or anything, what will happen is the image will go into the brain, and the brain will start working on that. And eventually it will work out ways and means how to attain it. I would call this biofeedback actually. Biofeedback may be something else, but I feel that. So, what I'm saying is the hope that we should have is that being a virus, this COVID also is going to end at some point. It has a lifespan. So, till then, since there is no cure, there is no point in being desperate and sad and worrying about. Try to be happy in some way. Hmm? There was one guy, a Western, I forget his name now, a great musician, who suddenly discovered that he had a debilitating disease of the muscles for which he couldn't find any cure. So the doctor said, look, there is no medical cure for this. But if you can keep yourself happy, maybe, he said, how can I be happy when I have this? He said, if you can keep yourself happy, then the positive resilience of your body may be able to handle it. Nothing else can be done. So his solution was very interesting. He started watching Mr. Bean every day. You know Mr. Bean, who comes in the YouTube, is a funny comedian in England called Mr. Bean. He started watching Mr. Bean, old Laurel and Hardy, and Charlie Chaplin. And he said, anyway, I'm going to die. Let me laugh and die. 1 year later, he went to check. And they said, things have improved. It seems some kind of resistance has built up in your cells. So, instead of considering this as a fear factor, since we are locked in, we can't move out, use the internet to have your communications, keep social distancing up, and since this virus also has to die, wait for the day when it ends. Keep yourself safe till then and laugh. I'm not saying about those mad guys who in the laughing club who go in the morning, ha ha ha, not that. That's crazy. Doesn't happen. But keep yourself happy. Watch some comic scenes, some comic pictures, crack jokes, be with the family. If your wife or your husband is sitting with a morose look, then crack a joke, make them laugh. If they are not upset, tickle them. I mean, I'm not saying you should. So keep everybody happy. If you keep people happy, then what happens? This is a fact. The brain immediately begins to send hormones which will build resistance in your system. And then you'll be able to handle it. Plus, because of this resistance, the outer viruses also will not be able to attack you that much as they could have done when you're completely down. So, plus, this is not a prediction, but I feel that the strength of the viruses is slowly coming down. And many of the infections that are taking place now are weak infections. Many of them are asymptomatic, some have mild symptoms, and the death rate is not gone up remarkably. It is staying there, and the recovery rate has gone up. Not because anybody did anything. It so happens. Can't say these people did. No, nothing. It so happened. So, according to my guess, not guess, my understanding, around about the 23rd or 25th of July, you will see the virus getting so fed up that it will go on a downward trend now. Because it will say that this infection is not working too much. Now, what is the use? Let's go somewhere else. I'm just saying like a joke, but it's a fact that the graph will begin to dip. Watch. So if it doesn't dip on the 23rd, 24th, end of this month, let's have another talk. And you say, hey, you're an idiot, you said something. We'll see. So, this is how it is. So let's think of all these factors and don't allow the mind to descend to the depths of desire. I'm sorry, despair. Desire is all right. This is a time when you really have desire, you should enjoy. Don't worry about other factors. So, yes, this is a message to the young, to the old. It's a message to the old because I am myself 71 years old. Hmm? Uh, and I'm handling it pretty well. And I'm a human being, I'm not a god. And therefore, I think you can also handle it with a little bit of common sense and understanding. Hmm? Yes, sir.
যেটা বললেন সেটা খুব সংক্ষেপে বাংলায় অনুবাদ করে বলতে গেলে ওই
Oh,
আপনার
sorry, you had to
প্রশ্নটা
try. Okay.
আপনার প্রশ্নটা যে তখনই আছে যখন আর কিছু করার থাকে না, অর্থাৎ একেবারে শেষ মুহূর্তে গিয়ে। Otherwise, অর্থাৎ অন্য সময় আমাদের পুরো
Bengali.
শরীরটাকে কন্ট্রোল করে বা নিয়ন্ত্রণ করে আমাদের মস্তিষ্ক, তার শরীরে আমাদের অসংখ্য কোষ এবং কলার একটা অবিরাম জন্ম মৃত্যুর খেলা চলতে থাকে। কলা জন্মায়, আবার নতুন করে এদের সমস্ত কিছুকে নিয়ন্ত্রণ করে মস্তিষ্ক। তাই আমরা যদি খুশি থাকতে পারি, আনন্দে থাকতে পারি, তাহলে মস্তিষ্ক থেকে ওই কন্ট্রোল করা, নিয়ন্ত্রণ করাটা সেইভাবে হয়ে গেল। খুশি থাকলে, আনন্দে থাকলে মস্তিষ্ক থেকে একটা হরমোন সিক্রেশন হয়, যেটা আমাদের পুরো দেহটাকেই নিয়ন্ত্রণ করে, এবং তখন আমাদের প্রতিরোধ ক্ষমতা ভাইরাস বা অন্য যে কোনো কিছুর ক্ষেত্রেই অনেক বেশি থাকে। আর এই খুশি থাকা, হাসি থাকা, নিজেকে খুশি রাখা এবং অন্যদের খুশি রাখা, অন্যদের আনন্দে রাখা, এটা অত্যন্ত গুরুত্বপূর্ণ। এটা থাকতে পারলেই ফিলগি ফ্যাক্টর যাকে বলে, সেইটা যতক্ষণ থাকবে মস্তিষ্ক থেকে ওই একটা তার মতো করে একটা হরমোন সিক্রেশন হয়, যেটা আমাদের বডিটাকে, দেহটাকে তৈরি করে দেয়, উপযোগী করে তোলে ওই সমস্ত বহিরাগত ভাইরাস বা অন্য যেগুলো বহিরাগত শক্তির থেকে প্রতিরোধের জন্যে। শারীরিক খুশি থাকা, আনন্দ থাকা, এটা অত্যন্ত জরুরি। আর যদি আমরা করোনা ভাইরাসের কথা সুনির্দিষ্টভাবে বলি, তাহলে এটারও একটা নির্দিষ্ট জীবনসীমা আছে, যেটা তো দুর্বল হয়ে যাচ্ছে। আমরা দেখতে পাচ্ছি, এটা আমার স্যারের বিশ্বাস, এবং এই বিশ্বাস থেকে উনি বলছেন যে দুর্বল হতে হতে একসময় মেবি জুলাইয়ের মাঝামাঝি সময় হয়তো এটা দুর্বল হতে হতে, কারণ আমরা দেখতে পাচ্ছি যে মৃত্যুর হারটা কমতেছে। তারা এখন নতুন করে ইনফেক্টেড হচ্ছে, ইনফেকশনটা খুব ভালো ইনফেকশন, তার থেকে খুব একটা ভয়াবহ কিছু। উনি একটা ন্যাচারাল প্রাকৃতিক পদ্ধতির মধ্যে দিয়েই এই ভাইরাসটার জীবন শেষ হবে, জীবন শক্তি। কাজেই ওইটার থেকে ভয় যেটা আসছে, আমরা ওই ভয়টা থেকে বেরিয়ে যদি নিজেদের সুখী আনন্দে রাখতে পারি এবং অন্যান্য সুখী এবং আনন্দে রাখতে, তাহলেই আমরা এই পরিস্থিতি থেকে ঠিকভাবে বেরিয়ে একটা ইতিবাচক পথের সন্ধান পাবো। The next question, sir, is from Kanaji Chakraborty, who is Delhi-based economist, Professor Poritos Kina, Chief Advisor, Tagore Institute of Human Development and Agricultural Management. Both of them wanted to know what would be the best possible remedy. It could be a spiritual remedy as well to come out of this. Part of it you have already explained.
I have kind of
Yeah,
explained, but the best remedy is to keep a positive mind because a positive mind is very important, just as I said before, to instigate or rather to activate, not instigate, activate the cells of the brain to produce positive hormones in the system. When the positive hormones begin to course through your bloodstream, then the resilience of your cells also goes up. So, when the resilience of your cells goes up, then it is difficult for external factors to have much say regarding your health. You can take care of it yourself. So, I think uh, um, bringing about a positive state of mind. Now, I can take, you can go to the Gita, you can, all these are there available, which you can read. But if you go even earlier than the Gita, there is one beautiful statement from the Vedas which talks about completeness, which is Purnamada Purnamidam. So, what is to be noted is Purnamada, we don't know. But it also says Purnamidam. That means in us also there is that Purnata, there is that completeness, there is that expansiveness of consciousness. Even on faith, if you accept that, it need not be faith because many a time you see such weak people doing things which are extraordinary, which you cannot believe they did it in a state of emergency. The neurological explanation for this is that the limbic system takes over, which is in the midbrain, little behind, to protect you from danger. Therefore, there's a sudden activity. So again, it boils down to this that it happens all here, which is why in the Yoga Shastras, this part is called the Sahasrara Chakra, the thousand petaled lotus, and Paramashiva is Sambho is supposed to be sitting here, which means all our essence of our consciousness is here. And it is from here that it spreads to other parts of the body. So if you can put this in order by positivity, by chanting something like he asked for a remedy, I would say chant Om for a while with your attention here or here and keep doing that. What will happen is then that part of the brain will start supplying those hormones which are required to bring about positivity to the human system. Once this happens, then all the cells which are usually weak will become very resilient. This is something which you can actually experiment and see. It's not something which I'm just saying as a theory. Hmm? The weakest of people sometimes do extraordinary things simply because they have decided to do it. How? Because it is this brain that started working now. It has taken over your negative thought, which says, I can't do it, not possible to do it. So, in a way, you transcend thought because thought can be both negative and positive. When you transcend thought, you come to the source of energy. When you come to that source of energy, then your whole system begins to improve. I am only against people saying, I have energy, I can give you that energy, just give me $10,000. This, I don't agree. Nobody can give anybody energy. The energy has to come from inside. So all this healing is nonsense. I don't believe it. The healing has to take place from within because we all have the potential to heal ourselves. Yeah, a little bit of faith in a good doctor and so on is useful. Now, if you don't have a little bit of faith in what I'm saying, then you don't even think about it. All that is okay. I understand. But to think that you can pass a parcel of energy from you to somebody else, that too by paying money, I don't believe this. This energy itself can come only when a person is a non-profit oriented person. It will not come. It's not as if you can train somebody in 6 months to produce it. Not possible. There are no such restrictions and conditions in this matter. Some people have it naturally because they accept whole humanity as one. They don't consider that somebody is dying there, which is not my concern. I am not dead. No. When people have that kind of mind, then the energy is universal. It's not just limited to one section. That is not easy. That kind of altruistic minds are very rare and in between. All I'm saying is you cannot train, but you can train yourself to produce the factors that will protect you from the attack of organisms that weaken your senses. And that is through saying that there is energy in me. Let me tap it. And one of the ways of tapping it is the chanting of Om. Of course, one shouldn't be also foolish to say that, oh, I'm now chanting Om, I'm full of energy, so I'm going into the marketplace and hugging people. No, you have to be practical. Like the Arabs say, trust in God, but tie your camel. So we have to be very practical in this matter. Hmm? So chant Om sometimes with your attention here. I'm telling our friend, this gentleman who asked this question, is there anything specific that you can do? Two things. Keep a positive attitude. The Second World War has also passed. Consider this is the third, it will also end. Keep a positive attitude. And positive attitude becomes increases when you help others, not the other way around. If you give money to somebody from a bank account, your account is reduced. But in this case, if you help somebody, your bank account increases. Not actually bank account, I mean the inner energy increases. So keep this in mind and try to keep a positive. If you are not interested in any spiritual matters, meditation, home, etc., I would still suggest watch Laurel and Hardy for some time. Seriously. I'm not joking. It takes you off from this world for some time, you are in a different world altogether. Then what happens? The mind is free of fear, at least for a short while. And then what does it do? It begins to produce hormones that help your body and mind to become resilient. I'm trying to say that it starts with the brain or the mind, whatever you want to call it, and then comes into the body. Not necessarily it goes from here there. So if this much is understood, I think we can work on this. Hmm?
পারফেক্ট সংক্ষেপে বলতে গেলে উনি যেটা বললেন যে আমাদের সবকিছুই শুরু হয় মস্তিষ্ক থেকে তারপর তার প্রবাহটা হয় নিচের দিকে। যেরকম আমরা শুনেছি পূর্ণস্য পূর্ণমাদায়, আমাদের প্রত্যেকের মধ্যেই সেই পূর্ণতা থাকে, এই অফুরন্ত শক্তির ভান্ডার থাকে। কেউ কাউকে এই শক্তিটা হস্তান্তর করতে পারে না। আমাদের ভেতর থেকেই ওই শক্তিটাকে, ওই উদ্যমটাকে, যে এনার্জিটাকে, ওটাকে বার করতে
Mhm.
হয় এবং সেটাকে বের করে আনার রাস্তা হচ্ছে ইতিবাচক দৃষ্টিভঙ্গি, ইতিবাচক
It actually is
মনোভাব
perfectly.
এবং ইতিবাচক একটা জোর দিয়ে এগিয়ে যাওয়া। যেমন ব্যাংক অ্যাকাউন্ট থেকে যদি আমি, আমার অ্যাকাউন্ট থেকে কাউকে আমি টাকা দিই, আমার ব্যাংক অ্যাকাউন্টে টাকা কমে আসে। কিন্তু এক্ষেত্রে আমরা যদি লোককে আমাদের আনন্দ, আমাদের শক্তি এগুলো শেয়ার করতে পারি, তাহলে অ্যাকচুয়ালি আমাদের মধ্যে যা আছে সেটা যেন বাড়তে থাকে। অতএব আমরা যদি শুধুমাত্র অন্য ধর্মাচরণ, অন্য কিছু বাদ দিয়েও ওম মন্ত্র উচ্চারণ করতে পারি, ওই ওম মন্ত্রটাকে যেমন উপর থেকে যদি আমাদের নামে, এমন কথা উনি বলছেন না যে শুধু ওম মন্ত্র যাপন করছি বলেই অন্য সবকিছু বিধিনিষেধ ভুলে আমরা আলিঙ্গন করবো, সোশ্যাল ডিস্টেন্সিং মানবো না, বিধিনিষেধ ভেঙে চলবো, তাও আমাদের ওম মন্ত্র সবকিছু থেকে প্রতিরোধ বা প্রতিভেদ করবে। কিন্তু ওইটা আমাদের মধ্যে একটা শক্তির জন্ম দেবে, যেই শক্তিটা থেকে আমরা এই নেগেটিভ থেকে ইতিবাচক মনোভাবের দিকে উত্তরণ ঘটাতে পারবো। কাজেই ইতিবাচক মনোভাব, ইতিবাচক দৃষ্টিভঙ্গি এবং ওই ওম মন্ত্র উচ্চারণের মধ্যে যে শক্তি, সেই শক্তিটাকে নিজের মধ্যে, আমাদের মধ্যেই যে অফুরন্ত শক্তি ভান্ডার আছে সেটাকে জাগিয়ে তোলা, এই কটা জিনিস করতে পারলেই আমরা ইতির পথে এগিয়ে যেতে পারবো।
Yes.
Next question is an interesting one from Dipankar Ghosh Dhakulia. He is an atheist. He is a believer in dialectical as well as scientific materialism, but he feels that he needs to concentrate also because he has got a distracted mind. Sometimes he thinks he will do this, next moment he thinks he will do something else. Can he meditate also to get out of this?
Okay. So this will be the last question because we have only 10, 15, 12 minutes left. But it's a good question. It's nice. I like atheists. you know, Swami Vivekananda said that most of us are atheists in a way because we really don't know about God. We only believe what others say. We really don't know. He said only a person who actually found it is a non atheist. All others are atheists. So I like that. Now, since he's talking about dialectical materialism and so on and so forth, I like dialectics. But at some point, I think we need to be careful not to use the word materialism all the time. Although we live in this material world, I understand that. I'm here physically. All the inventions that you have had is in the material world, understood. But all this has happened because of a inspiration that comes from the mind. So we should also take in the factor that dialectics is good. Actually, I'm trying to write a book on this. Uh, uh, dialectics is good, but it need not always be materialism simply because Our definition of the word materialism is very conditioned. This whole world is material, no question about that. And generally, what we think consciousness is also material. Now, if you go, now I know that because I am also from Kerala, born and brought up. I've read Das Kapital. I've read many of the communist books. I know the theory of socialism. All that good. There are good points that I appreciate. The present chief minister is a good friend of mine. We have discussed many times in Kerala, Pinrai. Openly, I'm saying. So it's not like that. What now Marx has a quotation which everybody quotes. They say religion is the opium of the masses. Yes, Marx said that. And in a way it's true. But let me put it this way. Suppose I have a headache, terrible headache. Day in and day out for days I'm having a headache. Can I think and find a solution while I have the headache? No. I need to get rid of the headache. Sometimes I have to get rid of the headache. I might have to take an opiate, a medicine, so that my headache is gone. And then I can think about matters and decide whether it is dialectical materialism or pure dialectics only per se, and what the definition of materialism is all about. It's not as if in the ancient Indian Shastras there is no mention of materialism. Kannada, the great sage, belonged to the Charvakas who advocated materialism. In fact, even before Rama goes into the forest, some Charvakas appear in the palace and they say, "Hey, why are you going? What is the use? Why should you keep promises? It makes no sense. Stay in the palace and enjoy yourself." Charvakas. And it was Kannada, the Rishi Kannada, who founded the concept of Anu or atom. They call it Anu. So it's not as if it is not there. Purva Mamsa and so on. They all discuss materialism. But they say that there is something other than that. That's all. Now, Sankhya philosophy is an atheistic philosophy. There is no concept of Ishvara in Sankhya. And Sankhya was promulgated by the great Rishi Kapila, who is considered to be such a great Rishi that in the Gita, Krishna says, "Among the Munis, I am Kapila." Kapila is the founder of Sankhya philosophy. In Sankhya, there is no Ishvara concept. They say the world was made through natural reactions, okay, through the tattvas. But they have a concept of Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha is not God, but Purusha is the essence of consciousness of every being. It's individual, it's also collective. And Prakriti is what we usually mean by the word material. Now, believe me, Sankhya also says that Prakriti, even Akasha is considered to be Prakriti. Even what we think are very subtle things and don't belong to material, they consider that also as material. So Prakriti means material. Now the Purusha is surrounded by Prakriti. The aim of Sankhya is to separate the Prakriti, but the mind separates the Prakriti and so that it becomes quiet and not caught in the opposites of Prakriti. Prakriti always has opposites. Night and day, plus and minus, positive, negative. In fact, the definition of Prakriti is prakaroti iti Prakriti. That which divides, creates division is Prakriti. So to keep out and to swim clear of this Prakriti, the Sankhya yogi finds then that he is actually the Purusha. When Purusha does not have a male connotation, please, Purusha simply means energy, consciousness. So from so-called ordinary material, he has gone to the essence of. We don't have time, otherwise I would have taken you on to quantum physics, and the units of physics. We'll do it at some other point. It's big. So this is Sankhya. So what I'm trying to tell our friend is that Sankhya is also an atheistic philosophy. So because one thinks one is an atheist, it doesn't mean that one need not study these matters. You can still study them. Hmm. Now coming to yoga. Yoga by and large, 80% is a derivation of Sankhya. Except the main difference would be that yoga accepts the concept of Ishvara. But the Ishvara of yoga is quite different from the Ishvara of the others. Non-yogic darsana, the concept of Ishvara as a creator and so on, that is not there in yoga also. In yoga, the concept of Ishvara is almost the same as the concept of Purusha in Sankhya. So, if you keep away all that, God, and you can still find the truth according to Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. So, Patanjali says that two things you know, the mind is distracted. Whether you are a materialist or a spiritual person, you know, mind is distracted. The mind has always distractions. The mind always has tension and conflict. You don't have to be a spiritual person or a believer in God or a theist to understand this. It's a fact. Okay. So what is yoga? Yoga is chitta vritti nirodha. That's all. Yoga is the way by which you remove all the distractions of the mind. Now what happens? Is this possible? Yes, through practice it's possible. So if the distractions of the mind are removed, then the mind becomes pure and clear. Such a mind is said to be in the sattvic state. And that mind, in that sattvic state of complete quietness, no tension, no conflict, no distraction, actually, according to Patanjali, is not very different from the Purusha itself. So, when you touch that, then the human being, the human mind begins to understand, it opens up vast vistas of knowledge, which is part of the Purusha. For that, what is required is the mind has to become quiet. So even if you don't believe in the concept of Ishvara, if you can sit down quietly somewhere, close your eyes or open your eyes and say, let me look at this thing called mind. What is this thing? Can I be free of distractions? It is the distractions and the conflicts that are causing all the pain for me. Can I look at this carefully so that I know what are my particular tensions and my particular distractions? And then, if I know what they are, then only I'll be able to handle it. So, the first step is to find this out. I think that finding out of yourself as it is then is self realization to start with. Not that I am the Purusha, I am the Brahman. No. To see myself as I am. What is causing my mind to be distracted? What is causing my mind to be in tension, agitated? So, whether our friend who asked the question, whether he's an atheist or not, it doesn't matter. It makes no difference to me. You can still delve into the deep philosophy of yoga. I would suggest that please buy yourself the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, a copy. Translations are available now. I'm sure in Bengali there will be great ones, great books. There is one small tract written by Swami Vivekananda called Raja Yoga, which is a commentary, very concise but commentary of on the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. So if you can start reading, then when I meet a friend next time, then there is ground for more discussion. And I won't mind if he comes here or I go there and sit down, but I want it all recorded when I discuss with him because it may be useful for others. Huh? In fact, I have a lot of discussions with our communist friends who at one time were part of our whole thing. And my next book, which I'm working on, or Westland Books, will be called Yoga Also for the Godless. It is a sloka by sloka interpretation and translation of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Yes.
Always look forward to that book, not wasting time on that. Let us end this discussion on a positive note with a short question. You could answer that. How do you see or where do you see India in the days to come?
In
whether
the days,
India will again emerge as a global power or something like that. That's the
well,
only question.
this is a little bit of a political question, but I don't mind. I see that we are going, after this is over, we would emerge as a much more resilient force. And I think that actually we have had it easy. Look at, compare our death rate with the death rates in the rest of the world. We have, we have escaped actually. So leave that aside. I think when we come out of this, we will be more resilient and our economy and everything will improve. Plus, the world will start looking at us with more respect because they will say, how did these guys handle this? Oh, and how are they so resilient? And how is it that their infection rate is down? Uh, how is it that they come back, jump back? I'll tell you one of the reasons is that we are not so antiseptic human beings in India. We live in dirt. The little child digs up dirt and puts it in his mouth. He is already, by the time he's 6 years old, developed enough resistance to infections. I'm not saying that we should ask them to do it. In general, we can sleep in a cow shed. We can smell the cow dung and the gomutra. Nothing happens to us. In fact, if you have insects in your garden, the best insecticide is spray some cow's urine. If you like, mix with a little neem mm, juice. So I'm saying that considering all this and considering the hope that we have in our hearts, we will turn out after this is over, when it is lifted, to be a much more resilient India. I want to use the word Bharat because somebody sent to PIL, to the highest court in the country, recently saying, why can't we change it to Bharat? He said, it's already Bharat. It's the constitution in India which is Bharat is mentioned. So you ask the government. Good. That's what the court can say. So I would say we will have a resilient Bharat. And I'm saying when the flights resume fully, we should change the name of Air India to Air Bharat. Why? Bangladesh has Biman. Indonesia has Garuda. How come we don't have? So let's call it. So, Jai Bharat. Hmm? Thank you, sir. It's time up.
Pratikda, you got your answer. Once again, but you will have to give us one more day because any
I
question.
will work that out with Lakshmi and let you know. Huh? Okay?
Thanks.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.